I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Colorado Governor Jared Polis has some good news for Coloradans. He proposed the Colorado Dividend on Monday morning. This will give a refund of $400 to every single Colorado taxpayer and an $800 refund to joint filers. Polis said that this dividend will help with rising costs due to inflation. He made this announcement before signing a bill to implement universal preschool. Polis claimed this will save families an average of over $4,000 a year. Let's listen in now.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. Thank you for joining us.
All right, folks, get started.
Good morning. We are joined by many members of the caucus in the Senate and the House. We're also joined by Treasurer Dave Young for today's announcement. We're going to hear from, in addition to Treasurer Young, Speaker Garnett, Majority Leader Moreno. As you know, a big focus for the Democrats in this year's legislative session and for us is saving people money. And there's a number of real policies that we can point to that have done just that, whether it's reinsurance, which has reduced the rate for individuals who buy their own health care insurance by over 20%. We slashed the price of state park passes by 70%. Free full-day kindergarten saves families about $500 per month, already in place. And later today, we'll be signing the bill for universal preschool. And in addition to the benefit for the kids, that also saves families an average of $4,300 per year. We've already cut property taxes for 2 years, made it so tens of thousands of small businesses don't have to even file the business personal property tax. And we're working towards infusing $600 million in the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund to prevent payroll tax increases. We're also providing relief on driver's license fees, reducing vehicle registration fees, and much, much, much more. I really wasn't kidding when I performed Paul Simon's hit single back in January, that we want to find 50 ways to save people money. And today, we're taking another big step to save people money. The proposal that will soon be introduced, the Colorado Dividend for every hardworking Colorado taxpayer, will give refunds of $400 per person, $800 per joint filer this summer, late August, early September. That's right. This summer, every Colorado taxpayer will get $400, joint filers $800. We know that this last year has been difficult. Rising prices, gas at $4 a gallon, groceries costing more. And rather than sit on this money, we know that $400 will help people now. And this is because of our strong economy that we have these resources. We have the 5th strongest economic rebound in the country. We've recovered more than 100% of the jobs that were lost during the pandemic. But we also know that despite there being good jobs out there, the rising costs are a real challenge for Colorado families. And that's why we're working to get this relief out as soon as possible. Instead of government sitting on the money, we want to make sure we get it back to people and empower Coloradans to invest this Colorado dividend in their own families, in their communities, in their everyday needs, or in saving for retirement or for school. This is because of our economic success as a state, this Colorado dividend will benefit every hardworking Colorado taxpayer. And I want to thank President Fenberg, Speaker Garnett, Majority Leader Escar, and Majority Leader Moreno for their leadership on this important opportunity to truly help Coloradans get by. Now I'm happy to introduce the Treasurer for the state of Colorado, Treasurer Dave Young.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Young. I'm the Colorado State Treasurer. A strong recovery in Colorado's economy means that the state will have the financial limits set by the Colorado Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and we've hit those limits, or will soon. However, I know that not everyone has been feeling this recovery. Many hardworking families are needing relief now. And so the Colorado Department of Treasury will ensure that there is sufficient cash flow to successfully issue TABOR refunds. We will do this by closely following our investment policy, which stresses safety, liquidity, and yield in that order of priority, as key goals for all of the taxpayer funds entrusted to us. So it's a proud day for us. We are happy to support this effort by legislative leadership and the governor, and thank them for their work to make this happen.
No worries, Dave.
Sorry, Speaker.
No worries. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here today with the governor, with the treasurer, with members of the Senate and House caucuses. Coloradans should be very, very proud that our state is experiencing one of the fastest economic recoveries in the nation. Our resilience as a state and the steps we've taken to position Colorado to thrive are boosting our economy and boosting our recovery. We've taken historic action to stimulate our economy and put money back in the pockets of hardworking Coloradans and save families and small businesses money. In recent years, we've been focusing on helping save Coloradans money. We've saved families money on health care and prescription drugs. We've boosted the incomes of working Coloradans by thousands of dollars by increasing the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit. And we've saved seniors money by making their Social Security benefits tax deductible. On the opening day of this legislative session, I said saving Coloradans money and making our state more affordable would be our top priority. We are looking at every way we can to save people money and boost their incomes and reduce costs. This announcement today is a very big deal. We're delivering once again on our promise to address the rising cost of living in our state and make Colorado more affordable. These checks will immediately help people afford the rising cost of gas, groceries, rent, mortgages, childcare, and so many other items and services that are costing more. Sending out these $400 and $800 checks now will help those Coloradans make sure that they have the resources during the highest parts of the inflationary pressures that they're feeling to help afford those needs. This is Coloradans' money. This is their money, and we're making sure that we make government efficient and getting those dollars back to them as quickly as possible. I'm excited to be here today, and I'm excited to announce Senate Majority Leader Dominic Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I'm proud to join Governor Polis and my colleagues in the House and Senate to unveil a key component of our plan to put money in the back in the pockets of Coloradans. As a recovering member of the Joint Budget Committee, I've spent much of my career in the General Assembly finding ways to stretch every dollar as far as possible in our state budget. And Coloradans have been doing the same. And so that's why today we announce our plan to help make that a bit easier, to help send money back to Coloradans, $400 for a single filer, $800 for a joint filer. That is a month's worth of groceries for the average family in Colorado. That is the kind of relief that we need to be providing to Coloradans right now in wake of rising inflation that we are seeing across the country and right here in our state. Since day one of this session, we've prioritized easing the burden on hardworking Coloradans, whether that's through lowering the cost of professional license fees, to making childcare more affordable or housing more affordable. We're doing all we can to relieve the pressures and the burdens that are being experienced by the majority of Coloradans today. This is the type of tax relief, this is the type of relief in general that Coloradans expect that their state government deliver on. And so by advancing these payments, by making sure these dollars get into the pockets of people as soon as possible, we can help combat that rising inflation and help folks when they need it the most, which is absolutely right now. Back to you, Governor Polis.
And really, one of the reasons this press conference is so short is it's a very simple policy. Check your mailbox in late August, early September, and if you're a Colorado resident, paid taxes, you'll get $400 back, $800 for joint filers. It's that simple. With that, we're happy to take some questions.
What percentage of the overall, of the $2 billion that's projected for next year is going to be used for this? And is this a one-time thing, or does this affect refunds in past years?
So you go to Mark Ferrandino for that?
Thank you, Governor. It's about 1.4 billion we're estimating. So estimates right now are about 2 to 2.2 billion dollars, 70% of the refunds.
Is this one time or whatever legislation you bring will look like out years?
The bill is one time for this year.
Mr. Farrington, can you stay up there? I have a question. Is this tax refunds for the 2021-22 fiscal year budget or 22-23? And these are refunds that people would expect to get in spring 2023, right? So you're essentially just advancing them ahead of time?
That is correct. It's for the refunds from the 21-22 fiscal year, and would have been paid out around April of 23, but we paid out several significant time earlier.
Any questions?
Yes. So you guys are advancing these refunds a year. You're getting them out before the election. Does this have to do with economic pressure that Democrats are facing in November? Obviously, Republicans are making hay about rising cost of living, inflation. Can you talk about whether this is motivated by that?
Well, it has to do with the economic pressure that the people of Colorado are facing. It would make no sense, just because this year happens to be an election year, to delay these refunds close to an additional year for 9 or 10 more months when people need it now. This is the summer when we're suffering from $4 per gallon gas prices. This is the summer where the supply chain issues lead to higher grocery prices. So it's critical that we act as quickly as possible to get this out to people.
Governor, could you consider in future years also pushing forward that timeline?
This is, again, 1 year. We're doing this right now because the moment calls for it. The number one issue facing the people of Colorado is rising costs of grocery, of gas, of rent, or mortgage. This will help. Rather than sit on this money, it's important to get it out right away as quickly as possible, and that's what this plan does.
The people who are feeling the highest pressure from the things you talk about, like gas and groceries, or people who make less money, why do something flat instead of do something specifically targeted for larger amounts of money to lower earners?
This will benefit every hardworking Coloradan taxpayer. In addition to this one-time refund that people will be getting in August or in September, there will also be a reduction in the income tax next year, and there will also be additional money that is refunded through the 6-tier sales tax refund mechanism next April.
But why is that? Why are you setting it up this way instead of shifting more of the windfall?
All three ways. All three are occurring.
Last question.
I'll ask two. I'm sorry. So in terms of risk here, right? I mean, there's always a chance that we could have an economic downturn in the next 2 months before the fiscal year ends. Is there any concern or mechanism in which to protect the state from having to pay out all that money if there is some kind of slide? And secondly, does this mean that Democrats are on board with Tabor now? You guys are obviously celebrating the refunds and the tax breaks.
So first of all, what Tabor specifies is the surplus. It doesn't specify what is done with it. And so getting it out quickly to people is a great way to meet people where they are and help make sure that they have the resources to deal with rising prices. What was your first question?
Is there any concern about an economic downslide?
Yeah, we're almost at the end of the year here. So we are June 30th. We're, what are we, 80% through the year. So, and in fact, this only deals with about 80% of the surplus. So I mean, if somehow the world dropped off a cliff and there were no revenues the rest of the year, there would still be sufficient revenues to cover this. We're at that point where the year's almost closed out. We expect that there will be additional revenue for the 6-tier refund mechanism. There also has been enough revenue to trigger the automatic income tax rate cut. But this is very conservative planning around what we have.
There is a safeguard likely in the bill, but we don't think it'll be needed.
And I'm sorry.
Because we're most of the way through the year.
Yeah. Question about the income tax and the homestead relief. Will this lessen that impact, or those are going to be just the same amount?
Those are the same. Yep. No, we're homestead tax exemption, income tax, and then the one that's variable will be how much is left for the 6-tier mechanism next April, and there will be some, but that'll be calculated at a later date. Any additional questions? Thank you all so much.